to Controlware field security module. To Controlware, we help customers to be in control with Microsoft Dynamics, and therefore we have a few apps that we'd like to show you. In this case, the field security app, and the field security app is aimed at refining permissions. So when you look at standard Business Central, what it enables you to do is to say who is entitled to make changes to for example, the item card like we have on screen right now. They say, well, marketing must be able to manage certain part, purchasing, managing another part, and together also we want to put some rules on what fields they can edit and whatnot. So that is the aim of this module. And next to that, I wanted to give you a few examples. So looking at permission sets, they grant access to objects. So a permission set in Business Central will tell you have rights to the item table, to the customer table, or to whatever data in the system. And if you then want to refine that, then our module comes into play. So if you, for example, want to say that you can change the item card but only certain fields, or you can change everything, just not this field, that's where our module comes in. And the same goes for filtering. So it enables you to say you're allowed to make changes to items, however, only to items in a certain category, or to things that belong in a certain region, stuff like that. And then last but not least, you can limit actions on a certain item. For example, you can say, well, you can see something, but you cannot post something, or you cannot process something. Those are things that you can also limit with this module. And some examples we have here is that people say, well, vendor bank account numbers can only be managed by certain people, or you have the ability to look up item data, but you cannot edit that. And one of the things we see a lot of times is that salespeople should only be selling to customers that are assigned to them, so where they are the salesperson of record. So they should not be able to place orders against other customers. And also to be able to show or edit some parts of the assortment, and to separate teams that work on the same table, like the example I had on the item where you say marketing and purchase should work on the same table, however should not interfere with each other's work. So that's the core of what the field security module wants to bring. And now I'll move into a demonstration of that. Welcome to Business Central. As we just discussed, I'm going to show you the field security, and we set this up on the item table. So I'm going to navigate to the items, and then first up I'll take the Athens desk and I'll make this into a table. There we go. And then it will tell me I'm not allowed to do this. And this is because there's an error on the page. So I can only press F5 to go away. And what it also tells me, I do not have permission to modify the field description in this table because of a field security. And it tells me that I can only change vendor data and check with marketing. Well, let's try again. So I'll refresh this, and then I'll go down to the vendor information, and that's here. And let's see. I'll add ABC to that, and I'll leave the field. In the top right, you can see it's saved. So I was allowed to make this change. So now how this is set up is like this. It's the field security. You could use Copilot to set this up. So whenever in the future, if you wanna have some help setting this up, you can ask Copilot to do this. But now I'll show you the old-fashioned way. So in this case, we have field security 001, looking at table 27, which is the item table. You can say default, everything is editable. So then you can change everything apart from the fields that we take away here. Or what we did here, you can change nothing apart from the fields granted to you here. Then you say, well, when should this start? And you give an error message, because if you do this correctly, the user will be able to solve their own problem and not call IT every time. Then if we go down a little bit, you see that the vendor number and the vendor item number are allowed, but also last date modified, etc. Because of course, otherwise I cannot save this page. So these are all the fields that I am allowed to change, and the rest I am not. And then if you move a little to the right, you can see the permission sets that is assigned to. So you can also say, well, I want to assign this to certain permission sets, and there we connect back to how Microsoft gives out rights in Business Central. And on the top, we have a few fields where you can say, well, calculate now for me to what users does this apply, but also tell me, are there users with rights on the item table that are not affected by this field security? Because that way you always know that you have everyone, but also that the people that should be making changes are allowed to. So it doesn't limit those people. So it helps you to get the overview. So now we have this all done, we can go back to work. So this was the field security on a field level. Like I explained in the presentation, is that we also have the filter security, and that is set up on this item. So we already know that we can only change the vendor data, right? So let's see if we can add something here. And tell me, no, you're not allowed to do this. But in this case, because of a filter security. And it also, and this is a system message, tells me why. It tells me that your allowed filter is where replenishment system is set to purchase. However, the current value is assembly. And then you're only allowed to edit purchase items. But this is not a system part. This is something we add in the setup. So now I cannot do anything here. So for this item, I cannot make any changes because it's not in the category that I'm allowed to make changes to. So I'll refresh the page, but also go to show you how the filter security is set up. There we go. Again, you could choose Copilot also to do this. And if we now look at this one, you see again table 27, the item table, the text that we just saw. And then here you see editable, and in this case we made it quite easy. We said, well, replenishment system should be purchased, period. You can make more complex filters. You can make filters with related tables. You can make filters calculated, so based on the user that is currently working. There's a lot of ways to do this, but this is how field security works. And again, this is applied through the permission set, so that way it ties into the other permission settings you have in Business Central. But also you see here editable, and there's also a visibility one. And I'll show you the visibility filter somewhere else. So that is set up on the finance part, where we did the chart of accounts. Well, I think if you're watching this movie, you know a little bit about Business Central, so you know that there's more accounts than the 60,001 to the 61,995. But as a user, I cannot get to them. So this is what I see. Here's my views. There's no way I can get past this. So this is, again, filter security. But in this case, it's the one for the GL accounts. And here you see, well, it looks at table 15, which is GL account table. And it's a visibility filter, and it will tell me the number should be between this and that. Otherwise, I cannot see it. And then it's assigned again through the permission sets. So this is a way to limit the amount of records people can see. So that's what I wanted to show you about the field security app. One last thing is that we also have our wiki page, and that is wiki-apps.tocontrolware.com. And there you can find a lot of extensive information on the apps, on the use cases, on how to use this. And if you still have questions, please reach out. We're happy to answer those. Thank you.